Hello and welcome back to our course on close reading Shakespeare's Macbeth. I'm Edward Dunnigan and I'm together with the Bund Education, and we're going to be presenting to you today the fifth section on our course on Macbeth, and we're going to be focusing on dramatic speech, one of the most important topics we're going to cover in our course. Last time in section 4 we talked about Freytag's pyramid and dramatic structure. We took a look at key moments of exposition in Shakespeare's Macbeth, of rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Today we're going to shift our focus from dramatic structure, which focuses a little bit more on plot, to dramatic speech and dramatic language, which is more focused on the words that characters speak and the different ways in which they're spoken. So the key questions that we're going to try to answer today are: what is the role of language in Shakespearean drama? In other words, what does language do? Does it do more than one thing? Question 2, what are the 4 kinds of dramatic speech? I think that there are 4 types of speech that happen in Shakespearean drama and indeed in all drama, and we're going to learn to classify and analyze them. And the third question is, how can we analyze some important speeches in Macbeth? Today we're going to be looking at 4 crucial moments of speech in Macbeth, one of which is a high soliloquy of Macbeth, arguably his most important soliloquy in the play. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Let's take a look in the simplest way possible at how language operates in a dramatic text in a play. Now, language in drama plays one of 2 roles in the most basic sense. The first role that it plays, and indeed the most important in Macbeth and Shakespearean drama, is the role of dramatic speech. In other words, language, most of the time in Shakespearean drama, is going to be the words that characters speak, right? So characters' speech, right? And of course, when we see that happening, we'll often have a note like, they'll say the character's name, right? They'll write Macbeth, and they'll have either a full stop or a colon, and then we'll have the character's speech afterwards. And this is probably the most important way that language operates in drama, and definitely in Shakespearean drama. But there's another way that language operates that maybe you didn't notice, okay? Or maybe you weren't conscious of even as you noticed. And this is stage directions. So stage directions tell us what happens on stage other than character's speech. So in Shakespeare, for example, we'll often get these simple stage directions. We'll get a note that says that a character enters or a character exits. Okay? Occasionally we'll get a note that there is a flourish, right? That probably means a bit of music announcing an important character like King Duncan on the stage. But most often we get simple stage directions telling us that a character enters or a character exits. And indeed this is important because, for example, the way Lady Macbeth and Macbeth talk to each other is very different when there's no one around to how they talk to each other in public moments like at the banquet. But Shakespeare, unlike more modern playwrights, doesn't have a lot of stage directions. More modern playwrights tend to give all sorts of information in the stage directions. They tell characters what they're wearing. They tell how characters move on stage. They tell what props characters are holding in their hands. They tell what the appearance of a room is like in which the character is speaking or acting, right? And, you know, a quick example, if you want to see someone who's famous for long stage directions, look no further than George Bernard Shaw, the Irish playwright who wrote Mrs. Warren's Profession and Pygmalion and a host of other important plays. I'll write his name here. George Bernard Shaw is famous for writing whole paragraphs of stage directions telling exactly how a house or a room should look when it's performed on stage. Shakespeare, on the other hand, doesn't really do that. He just writes the speech of characters. Okay? So today we're going to be focusing on dramatic speech as opposed to stage directions, which we're not going to address in one complete lesson, but rather we're going to address as they occur throughout the play. And we've already begun doing that. Okay, so Dramatic speech refers to lines spoken by characters as we have defined. And stage directions refer to notes meant not to be spoken, but to direct the staging of the play, the performance of the play. Here's a question you can ask yourself. Why didn't Shakespeare write many stage directions? Think about what was his profession other than author. He was also an actor, right? So as an actor in The King's Men, the acting company, why maybe did he not have the need to write so many stage directions? Okay. A final note that we want to make here is that Shakespearean drama relies much more on speech, and most stage directions are implied in a character's speech. In other words, Shakespeare doesn't say a dagger appears on the stage. Instead, in Act 2, Scene 1, when Macbeth gives his famous dagger soliloquy that we're going to look at a little bit later, he says, "Is this a dagger that I see before me?" So the words of the character imply and make clear that there is an image of the dagger in front of him. But the notes don't say that the director of the play has to use a physical object of a dagger on the stage. So again, the stage directions are implied in the speech more often than explicitly stated. Okay, so let's focus on speech.